Hey guys, welcome back to another live stream. I know I look different. I went ahead and shaved my head. It feels nice. It's gonna take some getting used to, but I like it. Bald. I know it's look ugly now. Well, today we're reading some fanfics. Reminder, like last time, that if anyone, I want to move this camera over, or not because the cord's getting stuck. If there's any that you know personally that you want me to read, feel free to drop the link and I will definitely get to them, or send me a message about them on Discord or anything. Anyway, on with the show. Last time we went and looked at, I want to say it was Archive of Our Own. So, yeah, let's go look at, no, we looked at fan fiction. Hey, look at my fanfic there. It's doing alright. So, we're going to search just all of them. And we're going to specifically look for complete works only. I'm also going to do the same for fan fiction. Why is it making me do .com? Oh, I need a keyword. I'll put A. No. Figured. Really? I just update date. Okay, I'll put the. Okay, fine. Screw you, fanfiction. You want to be a dick about it. I'm gonna try and cut back and not do so much, not graphic, mind you, but I'm not gonna be doing a lot of smut based ones because those get boring to read over and over. Let me take a look at this one. Alright, this one doesn't seem bad. Link is in posted now. This is a not rated one. It is by Fruit Jelly, and it's called The Light Behind Your Eyes. The summary states, to Izuku, life was constantly changing. Sometimes for the worse, sometimes for the better. The only thing that always remained was a pair of angry red eyes. Aww. And yes, this is the Bakugo and Izuku base one. Doesn't surprise me. After the war, Izuku found himself scared and resentful. His dream that once seemed so close was out of his reach. He was quirkless and weak again, just like in middle school, and nothing felt worse than seeing his friends shape into amazing heroes. Well, he only got weaker. The winter breeze ran through his green locks, and he sighed deep in thought as he walked. He had been going on late-night strolls ever since the war to try and clear his head of bad thoughts. The night was quiet and still just how he liked it. Oi, nerd! A loud, rough voice snapped him out of his thoughts and disrupted the silence. He snapped out of thought and tilted his face to face his tall, well-built classmate. These days, he seemed to be getting taller and more defined. Kashan. He finally spoke, embarrassed at his odd thoughts. How long are you going to mope in the code, dumbass? Are you trying to get sick on purpose, or are you just an idiot? He scoffed and buried his hands in his pockets. But I'm not moping, it's called enjoying the weather. You're the only idiot here. Izuku slapped his hand on his face and slowly looked up at Katsuki. Katsuki's eyebrows twitched, and his mildly annoyed expression changed to an angry one. Being a smart mouth, huh? He cracked his knuckles. I recommend you start running, you little shit. He stepped back, slowly waving his hands around and trying to make Katsuki change his mind and not murder him. Wait, no, I didn't mean it. I take it back. I'll do your homework for a week. Wait, no, a month. Katsuki stepped forward, smoke fuming out of his palms. I'm going to beat some sense into your shitty head. He then sprinted full force at Izuku, giving the smaller male little to no time even to react. Please, let me live. Think about your future as a hero. You can't murder me. He ran away as if his life depended on it. The cold air burned his nostrils as he huffed. Just as Izuku thought he was going to lose Katsuki, he felt himself get yanked back and tackled straight into the grass. Got you. An evil smirk grew on his face as he pinned Izuku's hands to his back and sat on him, leaving the smaller man immobile. Ha, he's so slow, he said through heavy breaths. Please, don't murder me. Think about your future as a hero. You can't murder me here. Izuku's cheek was pressed against the cold ground, and the heavy weight on him was making it hard to breathe. You deserve no mercy, Katsuki said as he began laughing menacingly. Katsuki gave him a look of disgust. What kind of psycho likes the code? What is there to enjoy about this gloomy weather anyway? Izuku rolled his eyes half-heartedly. I guess I'm a psycho then, he hummed. Yeah, I guess you are. Anyways, let's go back inside. It's fucking freezing. I can see frozen snot all over your face. He smirked, turning around and walking back to the dorms. Izuku blushed in embarrassment and followed behind him. What? Wait, Kachan, are you serious? Tell me where! You, no, get your ugly, snotty face away from me, Katsuki fake gagged and laughed at the smaller boy's embarrassment. Small. Slightly enjoyable. What do I want to get this thing? Wasn't bad. It was actually kind of entertaining. And I could see the bonds between them. You know what? For our first one, let's give it a 3-star. Like I said, it's not an anime I've watched, really, so it's hard for me to give the true, like, full experience of, hey, these are really cool in my opinion. But it's definitely a good read, and I am impressed. Let's see, if you also want to recommend a fandom to look at, feel free to as well. I'm going to jump on fan fiction as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop back and forth, look at my hands, and basically find ones that I know that I might enjoy from shows I've watched or movies or whatnot. You know, just in the end, having fun doing this. That one's a good show. We're gonna go look at some Danny Phantom ones. Yes, I know I might be cringing. This one's a teen one. It's quite a long one. So, we're gonna get quite a bit out of it. This is called One More Good Deed. It's by Saboy23. Link is there. What happens if Dark Danny succeeds? Does Danny just willingly split Vlad Plasmius from Masters? Or does something else happen entirely? If Plasmius stays, how does Vlad change? Either way, Dan wins. Wait a minute. How did she... Hello, readers. It's been a while, huh? There's a lot of reasons why I haven't posted, and this is one of the reasons. A separate story, not related to Ghost Titans, since this is just a DP story. I'll talk later about it later, so enjoy the show. Sorry, that tripped me up because of the double laters. This is going to be a bit of a long one, so tuck in. Beautiful. A simple, beautiful day falls over the city. Sunshine hits over busy cities, and the rainbow shines through the clouds. Cities all over the world are lively. Adults are working, teens are relaxing at school, and kids are playing in the playground. Swinging away on the swing set, a group of children help each other swing high up. The push kids imagine they are flying in the sky like birds. One such girl laughs joyfully as she reaches higher than the other kids. She looks behind her at the smiling boy, someone she helped encourage to join everyone. Push more, push more. Okay, he pushes a little harder, but is careful not to make her fall off. She holds the chains harder. Whee! She looks over to the sky. Happiness radiates over her as everyone can tell it's a perfect day and that keeps on giving. She notices something new in the sky, curious of the glowing blue clouds forming over the city. Stop pushing, look! Every kid heard her and looked up where she pointed, awestruck at the beautiful blue clouds. Whoa! It forms and forms until it reaches the middle of the city, blocking all daylight. Aw, man, the kids are bummed out by the sudden darkness, but are still curious with what's happening with the blue clouds becoming solid ice over the city. Everyone looks up at the strange sight. This was not on the forecast. They all start getting cold from it, shivering all over. They start scrambling for warmth. You know, one thing is bothering me. How exactly can ice be floating? Everyone starts heading home or wherever they can to warm up, but the ice starts glowing, forming ice stalactites over the city, and breaks off. All chaos breaks loose as it hits everything at breakneck speeds, hitting over screaming people. Buildings got pinwheeled into and windows break from the force. Cars crash into each other from the sudden weight as the cars start smoking, catching on fire. Eventually, it stops raining ice stalactites as the floating ice breaks apart, adding insult to injury to the now broken and burning city. The ones who survived but are crippled, or the ones lucky to not get hit, desperately try to hide or run away from the madness. Some look up to see if anything else will happen, and they see with fear a figure descend slowly from the sky. The figure is low enough to be seen, glowing blue. He descends to the ground, looking at the survivors with emptiness in his dark blue eyes. He focuses himself. A blue mist forms out of his chest as it envelops all over him. Every living thing tries all their might to leave, but to no avail. He screams loudly, letting ice cover the whole city, turning everything and everyone hypothermia cold. The living try in vain to move from their ice prison, finding their entire body unable to budge. The last painful breath was drawn as they all let go of their body. The city is destroyed with nothing that survived. Even the underground is frozen. Another city has fallen to an evil ghost, one with no obsession or dreams to speak of, dying from the broken obsession but stuck living. The blue glow stops completely at his face, that was completely ice blue turns tan. No longer overwhelmed by the cold, and his blue eyes turn green. The ghost that destroyed almost half the world is Danny Phantom. In a haze, he starts ascending back up only to hear a buzzing sound. He looks behind him and sees a Vlad bug close to him. He immediately charges his hand to blast it but stops. The bot turns half its body into a screen projector with a video message from Vlad. Staring at the pause, he reluctantly presses the pause button, turning it to a plus, and the video starts playing. The video shows Vlad in his old mansion in Amity. Danny has a confused look on his face. Interesting choice, Vlad. His voice strains from not talking in months, and his echoed voice adds a ghostly chill to the frozen atmosphere. Long time no see, Daniel. By the time this message arrives to you, I'd say in 1 to 2 hours, you'd have destroyed some poor city. For that, congratulations for being more vile than me. Vlad laughs with insanity at the irony. Danny doesn't react to his comparison. Instead, he gets suspicious of Vlad. Thinking on it, he wouldn't just mock me. We both changed after Dan's shaking his head to avoid thinking about it. He decides to hear what Vlad actually has to say. He rewinds the video to where he was before. Turning serious, Vlad continues. I don't know why you're doing horrible things, Daniel. But if, by some chance, this is some Fruit Loop attempt at being a hero, then I have a proposal for you. He smirks, gleefully using Danny's insult against him. Vlad moves the camera to a bonded Sam. Danny glares at the hard screen as dark blue eyes overtakes his green. He holds himself back from destroying the bot and rushing blindly back to Amity. Calming his nerves, he pays attention while resisting his temper. You see, Daniel, I know your humanity is in there somewhere. He moves toward the struggling Sam. This purple huntress is important to you, still, isn't she? It's interesting how she somehow escaped the explosion. But my dear Maddie did it. Turning angry, Vlad continues on. Whoever this ghost was, I wanted to destroy it. Calming himself a little, he looks at Daniel again, smirking. But speaking of Maddie, you are just like me, Daniel. When you're broken, you're still obsessed with something. He points to Sam. Sam glares defiantly at Vlad. Why would he care about me? He sure doesn't care about the world he destroys. Getting angrier, she relentlessly tries to escape all her glowing chains, but to no avail. Danny loses his glow. He doesn't try to deny her words, but he knows he still cares for the only family he has left. She must be the reason you live on. So I want you to come back to Amity to get your dear Samantha, and we'll make a deal, albeit her freedom. Vlad grabs tired Sam, who too tired to comment on Samantha. He goes back to the camera. One last thing. Before the video ends, I destroyed Valerie, and you only have 2 days to save the second huntress. Ta-ta. Danny destroys the bot, having heard enough. He immediately speeds to Amity Park, which will take a while since he's far away from America. While he's flying, he thinks about Dan succeeding in his future, somewhat. Did he feel as torn within as I feel when he was a halfa? Did him separating his human half save him from a destroyed ghostly obsession? Danny looks behind him, seeing the destruction he caused. Holding his chest where his ghost core is, he wonders, does becoming a full ghost build a new obsession? He slows his speed and phases his hand through his chest. Trying to ignore the agonizing pain, he slowly pulls something out. A small handheld device with a red button next to it. I will save Sam. What if this fixes my broken obsession? I have to find out. Inwardly hopeful, he puts the device back where it was and speeds up again, determined to save Sam. Nothing wrong with one more. Believing he can get a new obsession, he continues to utter the words, "Good deed." For the rest of the trip, he repeats the words, hoping to be right. Danny finally reaches America. He's almost nearby in Amity Park. It's nighttime in America, and he managed to reach the continent in half a day. Just 2 more cities to pass, and I'll be in Amity in no time. He looks down, seeing various people still up and about, but what caught his eye is all the fast food joints. Hearing a faint rumble from his stomach, he decides to eat and rest for the night. I'll just do the usual and steal it. As he pausing his thoughts, he hesitates. Thinking back on the video, he gets lost in fond old memories of his family and friends. He sighs, regretting what he was about to do instead. I haven't been human in a long time. Slowly getting used to using his voice again, he descends to the nearest fast food place. He checks the back and finds nobody there. Alright, here goes. Finds his ghost core and draws out the nostalgic cold sensation over his entire body as white rings flow over him, turning him into Danny Fenton. But he immediately has a big coughing fit, clutching his chest in pain. Now on his knees, he looks at the fabric, remembering something. At least my shirt got fixed. Struggling to breathe a little now that he isn't in ghost form. Getting up, he walks around the fast food place, holding his chest where a gaping hole hides under his old white and red oval shirt. If I'm going to get a new obsession, then I need to start over, starting with not stealing. He reaches in his jeans pocket and takes his wallet out, taking a few bills out and putting his wallet back in his jeans, and buying my food instead. Danny, now at the front door of the fast food joint, sees others with night cravings. Bracing himself, he heads in. 10 minutes later, he walks out with takeout and makes sure he's not seen before going behind the building and transforming. Feeling slightly relieved of the chest pain, he flies off to the outside of the city. Once outside, he splits 2 of himself and they search for a sleeping spot. Given the original time to admire the constellations, tracing them with his fingers. Less than a moment, he gets a jolt, yelping it at the sudden absorption of his copies, getting memories of a spot with a nice tree that has a decent view of the area around, just in case. He finds a spot immediately and floats to the middle of the tree, finding a spot to eat and sleep. While grabbing the box and unwrapping the burger, he thinks deeply about his whole life up to this point. Eating his burger and fries, saving Sam, and destroying Vlad will be my one good deed in months. Looking up at the sky, he continues, I may even get a new obsession. But Sam hates me. He stops eating and finds himself in doubt about it all, clutching his aching chest. After a while, he sighs in resignation and finds some motivation to continue eating and finalizes his thoughts. Even so, at least there's one less evil half for the world to deal with. But I'm not already wasted by then. Finishing his food, he looks at the spot he placed the handheld device and burns the takeout box before freezing it slightly. Wiping the smoke away, he gets comfortable looking at the stars again until eventually he falls asleep. Danny wakes up alert, hearing people chatting about in the distance. He tries to ignore the tearing core pain and the splits 2 of himself as they survey a tree. They look around until they find the people from the south. 10 GIW members are in the forest, clearly searching for a ghost. Them. So they nod to each other and split off from right and left to pincer maneuver the agents. The original sits this one out for now, waiting for the pain to subside eventually. Back to the copies, they reach their positions far enough away from the agents, which in surprise they noticed that the agents had no specter deflectors, which definitely makes the plan a whole lot easier. The GIW agents are near enough to track the original before one of the agents adjusts his glasses, turns to his right before suddenly pointing up to Phantom. All the agents pull blasters at the copy before firing at the fleeing ghost. Reaching a far enough distance from the original, the agent who saw Danny suddenly collapse unconscious before a copy emerges from him. Copy 1 forms multiple saws from his hands. The sawing sound catches the agent's attention as they turn around, aiming their blasters, about to fire. But the fleeing copy charges a blast. Turning around, he blasts all the agents. Ah! The explosion sends them flying towards the ecto saws, which the other copy releases the saws at the agents. As the saws come close, the original Danny recovers from the pain, only having a lingering ache left as usual. He stretches a bit, yawning, before he ascends high up in the sky. He looks around for the agents and his copies, feeling no copy pooped. He finds his copies. He notices one of the copies is invisible. Having an inkling of why, he confirms it, sighing deeply, getting the memories of his copies. Not knowing that he will be dealing with the GIW sooner than he realized, he speeds towards Amity Park. On the way there, his core gets colder and colder, till his skin turns blue from the cold by the time he's at Amity Park. Slowly, he starts freezing from his own cold. Shivering, he looks down from the clouds and sees an army of GIW agents all over Amity, in rows circling Amity. But the most powerful agents guard the city hall, where they have 2 tanks spread from the hall. The agents outside the vehicles are grunts, sporting the best armor that they can offer. On the rooftops, on City Hall, and the buildings around it are 5 snipers, ready to pick off any ghost in the distance. Danny looks at his hands. I wish I had someone to teach me how to control my ice powers. He thinks of ways to mitigate the cold, as well as how to get in the hall, since they are heavily guarded in their boss. What if I... He splits 2 of himself, but it seems to have barely taken away the cold. Leaving his copies blue-faced as well, he looks at the agents and the copies before sighing. Alright, they leave us no choice. To get to Vlad, we must destroy the guys in white. The copies look at each other for a second before nodding to the original. He thinks on it for a minute before speaking. Here's what we'll do. We have to refrain from using our ice as much as possible. The copies look unsure of this plan, but they wait for the rest. We need as much ice as possible for Vlad, so I need you to take out the agents around City Hall, especially the snipers, while I take on the front lines. Do whatever you need to make sure we win. They reluctantly agreed, realizing this keeps the original most safe, and so they split up towards the clouds above City Hall, getting a bird's eye view of the enemy. 1 copy separates to the other sniper spots outside of the hall, and then the original flies to the front lines, charging ecto rays with a hint of ice in them. He blasts both at the front row of the army, causing 2 explosions of green and blue to overtake half the street, almost near the street from City Hall, catching every agent's attention. Now that he has their attention, he turns the street left of him to safely deal with the other front row agents. While using the buildings to avoid the snipers, the circle formation of GIW breaks as left and right of them go after him, while some of them heads toward the hall, hearing sniper shots, the sound going a completely different direction. They surrounded the original from all sides, blasting immediately with no concern. Danny, realizing he can't fly up quickly, phases through the ground as the blast hit everything else, including themselves. He emerges from the ground, seeing the damage they did. He quickly flies to the left side of the agents, dodging from reckless shots. He charges a big circular energy from both hands before blasting it at them, causing a big explosion. With the copies, they quickly deal with 2 snipers before phasing down, dodging the sniper shots, alerting the agents to them. Once they reach 2 more sniper targets again, they phase up to them, the planet's blast their specter deflectors apart from before pointing a finger that forms a precise ray blasting right through the instead of the usual push or explode. Oh. Except the second copy away from the city hall was not that lucky. It says target already activated the specter deflector's shield before he went up, so the copy frantically ducks the incoming sniper shot, waiting to pause at the agent looking alarmed about something, dropping the rifle. The clone looks confused until he sees the agent pull out a knife. He realizes that the specter deflector shield means that it can't be shot through unless it's normal ammo. But the clone can't really do much to the agent now as the agent lunges for him. He dodges to the right, but he ends up getting shot at from below. He becomes wide-eyed as he suddenly speeds toward the middle of the rooftop, narrowing a sniper shot that hits the shielded agent, causing the agent to back up to the edge of the rooftop, falling. Screaming in a desperate attempt, the agent reaches for the ledge and grabs it, but he almost slips off from the momentum. The copy looks for the other sniper and seeing that the other copy is dealing with him, turns to the struggling agent and the copy blasts the ledge off, making the agent fall. Hearing screaming from under, the copy looks down at the scene, seeing the agent scattered half to the original Danny and the others surrounding the hall. He gets an idea. He charges a green blast with a hint of blue, and as soon as the screaming agent crashes hard into the ground, he blasts the agent's shield and flies away quickly from the big greenish blue blast. It consumes everything, including the tank, leaving nothing but the deadly code. The copies joined before looking at the entrance of City Hall, seeing nothing but blue, except for the occasional spark of the spectre deflector on a crashed agent. The resistance of the shield must have inadvertently made a big enough blast to cover most of the street and buildings in blue, dealing with most of the agents and whoever is unfortunately in the buildings around City Hall. The copies noticed something strange, however. They could have sworn they saw two tanks, before making a gasping face, realizing that the tank must be. Hearing the tank shot in the distance confirms their worry. Immediately they rush towards their original, hoping he is doing fine. Danny shoots green blast at the tank's green dome shield, which doesn't seem to affect the shield at all. He tries to descend to the ground before the tank suddenly speeds towards him, forcing him back up the sky to avoid the dome. He speeds away from another tank shot, almost hitting him again. He narrows his eyes, focusing his next blast with both hands. He blasts with a big precision ray, budging the dome a bit before flying behind the tank, keeping the ray up, having the same effect as before. The tank turns around completely. Danny stopping his blast, ready to dodge, but notices the dome shield isn't faltering at all. There must be something. Dodging another shot, he's rushed down, phasing through the ground before the tank could do anything. The agent inside the tank is confused. He, however, sees two phantoms speeding towards him. He aims his shot towards them before they both suddenly touch the ground. Using the same tactic as before, the tank drives to make the dome hit them before they went up to and dodge a shot. They blast him a bit before seeing their original come back up, turning human, coffin in his hand. Danny walks through the shield, which gives the copies and the idea to distract the tank, having to dodge more tank shots that destroys Amity Park in the nearest cities before the tank suddenly stops and the shield turns off. Danny leaves the tank before freezing it solid, marking the end of the battle, but not the war. God. I can barely speak, and I'm not done. Yeah, we still got a whole shit ton more. In City Hall, a furious Vlad Plasmia stomps around in his broken office. He throws his office table at the wall, breaking it apart in a part of the wall. Useless oafs. At least weaken him. pacing around the broken room, he rambles on. I did not expect Daniel to come here so quick. If I had known that, I wouldn't have sent my minions across America. Stopping his pacing, he calms himself from ascending, facing through the roof. Since he's more powerful than I thought and unhurt, I have no choice but to get half my power back. Focusing himself, Vlad claws back all his copies in America, even the ones that was possessing important figures. They all start heading towards Amity Park for one purpose only: destroy Danny Phantom. Danny, now as one again, looks at his shivering blue hands. Definitely didn't lose much code. Curling his hands into a fist, he looks toward City Hall, for seeing Vlad in the distance. Just perfect for him. Glare in his eyes turn dark blue. He flies halfway to Vlad, who's smug in the face, clapping his hands together in a proud fashion. I must say, Daniel, you would have been a perfect son after all. Ignoring him, Danny flares his hand in green energy. Where is Sam? Vlad laughs loudly, echoing through the dead silent Amity. I can't just tell you now, can I? Both Danny and Vlad looks around them as the Vlad copies arrives in Amity Park. Danny immediately copies himself to 2. Vlad continues, you have to force it out of me. But you are the only one left to oppose me in my kingdom. And the last. So try to entertain me the best you can. Grinning pointy ear to pointy ear, he flares both energies in pink energy. So do not hold back. All Vlads surround them, grinning as well, while the Dannies look at each other before facing different directions, their backs toward each other, ready for anything. This is it. No more half a ghost will be left to cause problems for everyone. I will save Sam and gain my new obsession no matter what it takes. The original Danny and Vlad stares each other down before Danny responds. I will win, Vlad. You won't be here to witness a new me. Fruit Loop! The Dannies smile for the first time in a while, while all Vlads lose their cool, snarling rushing into Danny's. The Danny copies 1 and 2 takes on the 6 Vlad copies, while the original Danny blasts the original Vlad far away from the hall, nearing the destroyed Nasty Burger. Danny dodges pink rays, going on the offensive. The Danny copies takes on 3 Vlads each, as they suddenly form a green dome around them, causing the Vlads to crash into it at full speed, hurting themselves greatly before both Dannies overrun the domes into a big bright green blast that hits all 6 of the Vlads. The force crash and the one Vlad's hit directly by the blast into a building. The damage is overwhelming as they poof away into an angry original. The others stand up from the poles, roads or agents they destroyed from the force. They crashed into them. 2 Vlads each charges towards the copies, again leaving ice cracks. They don't rush blindly like last time. They instead surround the Dannies, as for and they all, in unison, blast at one of the Dannies. But 2 Vlads get blasted frozen before they could go through with that. The Danny's hit with 2 blasts comes back up, rushing for the frozen ones, and hits them both with blue glowing fists, shattering them. He dome shields himself quickly before it shatters from one Vlad punch, pushing him back. Realizing he is significantly weakened from the 2 Vlad blasts, he precision shoots the Vlad, going after the second copy. This Vlad takes 2 shots in the back before the second Danny copy kicks him in the neck, taking him out. Turning back to the other Vlad, only to get punched hard enough in the face. Fire explodes, smoke comes from his face. He poofs, catching his original's attention before it even hits in the ground. The last Danny copy, whose slightly hurt faces the last Vlad. They each stare at each other, waiting for the other to make a move, for the Danny copy does. Danny moves in his defense, blasting ice at him, before he responds with a fiery pink blast of his own, leaving the two dodging some of the blast, while the rest of the blast shockwaves into each other. Vlad moves in with flaming pink hands, intending to grab him, but Danny dodges to the side. The lunge Vlad made costs an opening. As Danny blasts his back, only slowly freezing him thanks to his fire core. Vlad tries to burn the ice, but Danny blasts his arm joints frozen. Knowing he's losing, Vlad uses more heat to explode around him, hitting Danny. He glares at the copy. Both are weakened. They both know one more hit can be victory or loss. Vlad readies both hands before getting an idea from his original. Smirking, he immediately does it, catching the Danny copy off guard. He teleported, and the copy didn't even think about it. It rushed towards the original, worried but determined to be there in time. He turns his legs into a ghostly tail, speeding off towards the sound of explosions. Dodging the pink blast from Vlad, he goes on the offensive, blitzing towards him, making wild green punches at Vlad's face, which Vlad shields successfully, but gets pushed back towards the destroyed Nasty Burger. Both briefly see the statue of Maddie, Jack, Jasmine, Tucker, and a lone Mr. Lancer. Vlad would have made a comment on the Nasty Burger incident until he felt two copies of himself return to him defeated. Losing his composure again, he screams angrily, rushing him again before stopping at the dome shield Danny formed. Getting an idea of what he plans to do, thanks to his copy's memories, he readies a square shield. He was right as the green dome becomes overwhelmed into a big blast, going right for Vlad. Vlad's shield gets hit directly as the force of blast pushes him back, nearing the bits and pieces of the Nasty Burger before the shield absorbs the entire blast. Vlad laughs and sends the blast back to the owner, who phases through the ground with no other option. The blast hits half a building and the top half of another building behind it. Destroyed parts fall off, crashing into the street. Seeing no trace of Danny left, he laughs triumphantly, believing he destroyed Danny. The end of a deluded fool. What did you think? Crack. Vlad's chin receives an extremely fast green uppercut from right under him. The added strength of the ghostly energy, the speed, and the force of the uppercut turns Vlad's neck upwards unnaturally until his neck cracks loose, leaving a Vlad that can see behind him but not in front of him. His body turns upwards in reaction to his head direction, and his hands reaches for his neck. But Danny continues his attack, punching Vlad in the stomach, making Vlad hold his stomach before Danny uses the momentum, kicks Vlad in the side before backing up and shoulder bumping Vlad into a pole that breaks in half. It falls on Vlad, but Vlad's regeneration kicked in at this point, so Danny backs up again but charges up a blue blast, forming a circle in front of his hands before mini ice needles form, and Danny shoots them rapidly at Vlad. Vlad takes multiple needles across his body as he tries to scream but can't. He shields himself in the pink dome, but the freezing from the needles starts forming all across his body and his shield. Before his shield shatters and his body turns frozen, he receives more memories of his copies, so Vlad decides no more holding back. His neck fully healed and back where it was, screams animalistically as he flares his entire body in pink fire, overwhelming the code and pushing Danny back onto the broken building parts from before. Hits in the back of his head and body into it. Groaning, he touches the back of his head and body. He glares at Vlad, who blasts a fiery pink blast at Danny, while Danny blasts ice at Vlad. Both get hit, but Danny takes the most damage as the explosion launches him far backwards, over to the street, back towards City Hall. He balances on the air, but is visibly weakened as he descends to the ground, dry heaving on his hands and knees, parts of his hazmat suit burnt. Vlad slowly floats towards Danny, reaching halfway there. It's no use, Daniel. From here on out, all my copies will arrive soon. The ice around Vlad's neck fully melts from the flaring heat. He charges a blast and smirks, looking behind Danny. Besides, one of the copies is already here. Suddenly, a Vlad copy emerges from his teleport and grabs Danny for electrocuting him. Scream and rings appear briefly over Danny before forcing itself closed, confusing the Vlads before proceeding. It's over, Daniel. I wish I could have used my ghostly whale, but I'm already struggling with my human half as it is. Throwing the blast, it speeds towards Danny, and the Vlad copy smirks in victory, for Danny freezes him solid. But electricity still courses through him so desperately. He reaches in his core, letting the ice envelop him before forming a giant blue shield in front of him. The shield holds strong as it takes an explosion of pink fire, creating a smoking screen in the area. The smoke clears and Vlad sees a perfectly fine, unburnt Danny stand up, focusing as his eyes turn dark blue and his hands glows blue. Vlad receives the memories of the frozen copy as it's left as only a statue with the body gone. The copy only saw smoke at the end. Vlad descends to the ground, crossing his arms, not even looking behind him as an uncountable number of Vlads appear just in time, teleporting in green swirls, and the second copy of Danny arrives at the original side, activating his ice. The original Vlad backs off, turning his back from the Dannies. I'll let them handle this. Walking towards the nasty burger while the Vlad copies surround the Dannies, they all charge pink blasts, ready to take them out. But multiple Vlads suddenly get blasted by rockets and sniper shots, taking them out. Poofing from the damage, everyone surprised looks in the direction of the city hall rooftops and sees Purple Huntress and Valerie? The original Vlad is surprised before becoming enraged. How did you escape? And how did you live? All Vlads repeat what he said in unison. Valerie, who's heavily bandaged, responds, You're both dead. Going down. Firing another cluster of rockets, Purple Hunter snipes the other Vlads. No more evil ghosts, no more. Seeing that Danny did come back causes an ache in her chest. Valerie briefly looks at her before firing another cluster. Danny's have a surprised look on his face before smiling, focusing on one last thing he sets out to do. The end of Vlad, and so both Dannies separate. One goes after the Vlads, who's speeding after Purple Huntress and Valerie, while the original is after Vlad. But he gets intercepted by the massive copies. The Vlads after the Huntresses dodge both the cluster rockets and sniper shots, while some of the others get hit. Not as many fall as last time. The Vlads charge a fiery pink blast, but before they got frozen, taking the other Vlad's attention away as they get cluster rockets to the face, taking them out. The copy takes out the frozen Vlads before dodging a sniper shot. He rushes full speed at the Huntress, who, alarmed, turn their Spectre deflectors on, bracing for impact. But it didn't come. As they look back and see the Danny copy blast most of the Vlad's blast frozen, while the other misses and hits parts of the hall instead. Looking back at their surprised faces, he looks at Valerie, who glares at him. I'm not gonna fall for it, Danny. You'll never be a hero again. You never were. She falters slightly at the look Danny gave her. Surprised hurt. A genuine hurt falls across his face. He looks down as his hair hides his face, confusing Valerie deep down saddens her. Why did you destroy half the world, Fenton? Why are you evil? Why did I have to be right about you after all? She notices a big blue shield surround them as multiple pink blasts slam into it, plunging it. The copy looks at Sam, who's faltering the most out of the two, before the copy starts to get pushed back from the force of Vlad's blast. That comparison Vlad made about me and him. Both Hunters was looking surprised as the copy suddenly speaking. You don't belong to me, Sam. You never did. This is what Vlad will never understand about Maddie. Turns back and suddenly bursts through the air as the dome disappears, revealing that most Vlads became frozen from the original Danny, who himself is frozen. Danny? Danny! Oh, and look at this. We have a bot, which I will be going ahead. So I'm going to be getting rid of deleting that message. I'm sorry, but I will not be having bots on my channel. Where was I? Back to the original Vlad, who gets a glass of wine poured from his copy, who, after the teleports back to the battle, Vlad drinks from the wine, freezing yourself willingly to death. How poetic. And ironic. Vlad laughs and muses, barely heard through the sounds of explosions. He raises his glass to the sky as the Danny copy draws out all the code from himself and suddenly explodes, freezing the rest of the Vlad copies down, freezing them beyond hypothermia code. A toast for a good show and victory for the king of the world. Drinking the last of his wine, he tosses it aside as it breaks. Why is Vlad notices something off about both Dannys as they fall from the air. Vlad sees the body of the original Danny disappeared from their ice prison. The body becomes a statue of their last moment, just like Vlad's copy from the smoke. Before Vlad could figure it out, he feels a cold sensation from his chest before. His core starts to freeze. He looks behind him and sees Danny Phantom using all his code to freeze Vlad permanently. Vlad, while trying to freeze his flare's ghostly heat to resist Danny's ghostly code, notices the telltale signs that the Danny he thought was the original wasn't. Realizes that Danny's regeneration isn't as powerful as his. For even though Danny is healed from the burns, it clearly took a long time and his suit didn't regenerate with him. Vlad's screams turn silent as his vocal cords turn frozen and he begins to lose his heat faster than he can make it. Danny, noticing this, finally speaks after a while. The smoke gave me an idea. Split a copy, go underground, and hope. You can't see through smoke. You didn't. No longer being careful, he lets out his code out. All his code out, freezing Vlad completely, still turning him into a blue statue like many others. No more half is left, Vlad. He suddenly coughs painfully out of nowhere, realizing something wrong, looks before his blue eyes consume most of the shadow on his face. No more half-us. This was all one more good deed. Seeing Danny fly away, the last thoughts left in Vlad's mind before it shuts down is, there's still one more left. Soon. Danny flies to the top of the city hall and sees Sam, Aiden, and injured Valerie. They notice him, so they tense up and become worried, but unable to do anything. Danny conjures something blue, increasing their nerves, sweating Sam bravely. He stands in front of Valerie. She looks away as the energy brightens before looking back, only to be surprised at what he'd made. Anybody want an ice pack? He presses one against his body, hissing at the pain before offering one to the girls. Baffled, the girls look at each other before Sam numbly takes the ice pack as her breath shows from the code temperatures. I don't know what to think anymore. Realizing what she's thinking about him, Empty Eyes responds, what news told you about me isn't wrong. Sam gives Valerie the ice pack before pausing. She looks down. Why? Why did you freeze half the world? Why are you just like your future jerky self? Why did you leave me? Falling down to her knees, she finally lets go and cries after her outburst. Danny wants to comfort her, but he's the reason why, so he backs off. Valerie, who holds an ice pack to her side, comforts Sam, holding her close before looking at Danny. And why did you come back, if not for Sam? Danny, after a while, confesses while Sam eventually recovers, red in the face. I truly believed my future was set in stone, that Dan was right. So I left thinking that I can at least delay Amity's destruction. Maybe find a way to stop it, and if not, hope you guys can stop me. They listen to what he has to say intently, waiting to know and wanting to be wrong about him. As he continues, by the time I discovered my new powers, I didn't know how dangerous it was, and so the city I first visited became frozen solid. Something snapped in my head, and from that point, I became who I am now. I destroyed anything I could, always deluded, thinking this is how I must learn the power, knowing it's wrong, but not even resisting once. But one bit to stop. I truly became just like him. I may not take pleasure in it, but I never stopped. Even now, I didn't hold back or care about the destruction I caused here. My home. Home. They observe him until now and finds their hopes to be crushed. Even now, they notice the blue eyes of Danny Phantom is gone, replaced by empty dark blue hazed eyes. It's like the owner has nothing to lose and will do whatever he wants. The worst part of it all is that he is like Dan, aware of the horror he causes but doesn't stop. In fact, they both keep doing it anyway. And right now, they start to notice Danny's going through a breakout. He looks like he's seeing things, but nothing's there. So they both back up slowly near the broken ledge. Before it overtakes them, Danny coughs violently, catching them off guard as they walk towards him slowly. I'm okay. I'm okay. I just learned something about myself. Nothing that aided a cycle. They look at each other before looking at him. What did you find out? The girls ask in unison. All this time, I never noticed an unsolved problem that finally broke out free. I never really dealt mentally with the duality of the people of Amity. They like or hate my ghost half, hunting me like an animal while my human half gets bullied and the teachers never did anything to help me. Only put their limiting beliefs in my head like everyone else. The worst part of it all is my parents' duality. My dad made me like this with that flawed portal design. But they hunt me. Me, their own son. Just to tear me apart molecule by molecule? He walks opposite of them to the unbroken ledge, ignoring the people under him. This is all bottled up. Bottled up until Dan's arrival and my only family. Ends tragically. So the bottle broke. Just like my ice powers. Like... Oh. Sorry about that. Like my obsession broke me. Seb notices the word obsession while Valerie became confused. Wait, your obsession broke? That would mean... Danny coughs painfully again. Even after it finally stops, he hears them screaming his name before feeling them holding him. He looks around, noticing he must have fell as his vision clears. He notices that it's been nighttime, and he's never noticed that when it happened. Are you okay, Danny? They repeat his hand before he stands up. Yes. I'm dying, Sam. You what? Valerie exclaims, not knowing where this was going at all. My human half is starting to die, and I will be next. Danny unexpectedly gets hugged, surprising him. He looks at the both of them, holding him with tears in their eyes. He looks regretful about something. He's made up his mind. What are you going to do? What do we do about you? You destroyed half the world. You practically saved this town from that tyrant, and you're dying? Valerie lets go of him and gives him space. Is this the last time we'll ever see you? Afraid of what's going to happen to him, she holds him tighter, overwhelmed with all this information. Danny hesitates before hugging Sam back. Valerie smiles slightly, but is too worried about Danny's well-being, confusing her to no end why she finds herself caring for an evil ghost, who happens to be Danny of all people. They're letting go of each other. Danny turns around and faces his hand into his chest, grunting before pulling out a handheld device. Turning around, he quickly finds out that they saw anyway. Going off their uncomfortable look, they look blankly at Danny to explain what's he holding. I have one last option. Save it myself and save everyone from me. He looks at Valerie. You're right, Valerie. I'm no hero and my time's ticking. So there's no way to become one again. I truly wish I was wrong. That I can say I'm sorry for everything I did and believed in. But what you did can't be fixed. She looks away from him a second, holding her arm. Sam can't find it in herself to truly forgive him either. She still wants to know something. What is that thing, Danny? It's definitely not a Game Boy. Smiling, he happily responds. It's a portable portal to the ghost zone. To find a way to save myself and, to get away from everyone after what I did. Sam, smiling, hides her sadness. I hope you come back to fix this mess. Danny briefly loses his smile before it comes back, nodding. I must get going. Bye. Valerie, who watched their conversation, noticed the sudden happiness and the big light of it all. Smile and what the device may actually be. Danny, wait! He stops and looks back, keeping his smile up, but it still looks shaky, yeah? Danny, is there no other way for you to save yourself? She asks, afraid of what the device actually is, especially since he phased it in his chest. Sam gets confused with why she said it like that, especially since he already said how. Danny realizes and she loses the hint of so in his eyes. There's no other way. Except with the stars hiding his tears. Farewell, girls. Take care of yourselves. He says all this while speeding up high in the sky, his voice barely being heard anymore. He reaches to the clouds, ignoring Valerie's scream. He looks up to the stars. Ding. He presses the button. He goes faster as the sound of one echoes through the skies. I wanted to do this before Vlad led me here, and now. 2. There's no more chance I'll be fine as a full ghost. I already am one. Brian finds himself deluding again. 3. Looking at the stars, he looks down at his astronaut suit as he flies around in space. Mom, Dad, look. I'm an astronaut. In the skies across all Amity, a far distant sound of an explosion hits the skies. It takes a lot of focus to hear it, but the cries of one kid is loudest, echoing through Amity while the other kid thinks she's finally not hiding her pain anymore. There's no doubt he was evil, but for a moment, just a moment, he was a hero who saved Amity and the world from the tyrant known as Vlad Plasmius. The Vlad statue stays frozen, unbreakable. Naturally, it's like his entire being is locked in its ice prison, as his full ghost form never forms. He stays permanently on Earth. And that is the end of that story. Whoo. Posey Sniffer, no. In fact, I was just reading fan fictions because people like changing up the fandoms. And it's very interesting to see how people do that. That last story, I wasn't expecting it to be that good. Not at all. Oh God. My voice is kind of raw now. My only complaint about it is when you're actually reading it or watching like it go by, the person did not put as many like periods and shit, and there was a lot of repeat. It was hard for me to stay invested in the plot, and in fact, I found myself drifting at least once or twice. But overall, it was a very interesting read. Definitely a different take on the whole if Danny failed with Dan. Um, I wasn't expecting it, but I was expecting that ended. I knew it was a bomb instantly when I heard him like how he was voicing it. For this fan fiction, I'm gonna give it simply because of the writing style. I'm gonna give it a 4 star, with the only qualm being the writing. If the person comes back and redoes it, I will be happy. But until then, it's just wait and see. Anyway, guys, it is been an hour. Wow, it's almost midnight. I work tomorrow, very early. I hope you've all had fun. I hope you've all enjoyed this fanfic. Go check out the video beforehand where I did this as well, and also catch my Saints Row the Third videos. They will all be posted also on YouTube. Um, yeah. Hope you all enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys here again. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow is video game day at night, and I will be playing Baldur's Gate 3 with my girlfriend. Until then, I hope you all have a wonderful day.